Welcome back to the GSL VODs. Tastosis here. We've just finished game number 1. A bit back and forth there, but Classic did come out on top.
Yeah, it was an interesting game for sure. Yeah, had some really nice timing attacks onto those the 5th and 4th bases. So,
you know, interesting beginning too. Before we went to the break, we talked about the proxy back there, and it's one of these situations where he did hide that Oracle farther away from the Stargate, even though if the Stargate itself is spotted,
yeah,
Strat's busted. I mean, granted, Classic still won, props to him, but a little bit of bumpiness there early on, really showing that this is Classic's first finals. A lot's on the line. He might be slightly distracted.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you can see Sue has been pro gamer a little bit longer. Not SOS, guys. Sue.
There's a mistake in that graphic. Sue, not SOS.
SOS. He's not actually a champion either. Well, he's a champion of various other tournaments. Like, he's a world champion of IM and of BlizzCon. But Sue, he's looking to pick this up, Tasos. I think he's going to be able to come back. I'm not too worried about it.
I think he can still come back. Classic did seem a little bit distracted at points in time in that game. I think Sue went for the wrong style of play in game number 1.
He went mutas too early for sure, I would say.
You know, he didn't. I don't think he focused enough on the drones and stabilizing those bases to where Classic just stayed back. Sue was also a little bit too aggressive with Classic. When Classic was turtled on 3 bases, there was no need for that. All he has to do is try to counterattack more so than harass. And I think that was one of the key things that allowed Classic to eventually come out on top, was that Sue was misplaying that a little bit. The next map we have is going to be Ultrazeme Stronghold.
Oh, this is a gigantic map, and it feels really Zerg favored until you get to the very top guys. Like, you put someone like Zest on this map, not likely to lose it to any Zerg in the world, really. Because with perfect Skytoss play, you get enough bases, Zerg just can't kill you. But you can't kill Zerg for a very long time here, that's for sure.
We've also seen some interesting mix-up builds here from Zerg, some rushes early on to throw the Protoss off. Let's see if we have them this time around. Game number 2 between Classic and Sue here at the GSL VODs Finals.
Hot 6 GSL Season 2 Finals. Classic versus Sue.
All right, we've got Sue in the upper right, and in the bottom right we have Classic.
No, I'd like to see Sue maybe use True's style here that he used against Zest with the Mass Corruptor Queen Ling. That was like a really cool one. I liked that a lot. It was very fun because like you take out the Colossus and then you have so many Lings with upgrades that they just kill everything no matter what.
Yeah.
Really, really neat the way that he played that out. I wonder how Sue's going to though, because Sue has played this map just magnificently in the past. I love it when he goes for melee upgrades and goes straight into ultras. I think that is the most forward-thinking style you can do here.
I have to agree with you. All the way from Slovenia, welcome.
Wow.
Excellent. Yeah, quite an international crowd down here.
I love Slovenians.
Well, that's enough, Artosis. I'm cutting you off, man. I don't know what's going to happen this game. I thought maybe we were going to have a quick pull from Sue. We've seen that from time to time, especially from Sulky.
Sure.
Blindsiding some of these Protosses. Then again, he might have thought, oh, I really messed up that last game. I don't want to gamble on a win this time around in case Classic's prepared. Again, it is teammate versus teammate, so that does make for some weirder than normal games because both teams know each other so well. Welcome to the studio. That's an old school HandsomeNerd.com shirt.
Yeah. It's a handsome nerd right there, man.
That is a handsome nerd.
A new school handsome nerd.
That might just be a hot nerd. Ooh, the hot. Welcome to the studio, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. And of course, for you guys at home, entry's free, as we always say. You just come down, try to come early, grab a good seat.
Yeah, the finals are kind of hectic and crazy.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's actually completely filled up in here.
Yeah, there's like people standing. It's just no room. And it looks like this guy rode up on the train. I think that might have said something about being in his clan. But I was too busy trying to read the ticket, see where he came from.
I was so busy trying to read every word on the receipt, Artosis, so I didn't catch the sign. Yeah.
It was a core rail ticket. It wasn't a receipt. It was a ticket.
Oh, is that if you buy just like the one thing and you don't use the T-money? If you
No, it's like for the train that goes through Korea.
Oh, you
The
mean
one
the
to
actual
Busan
train, not the
stuff,
subway?
yeah.
Excuse me. Whenever people say train, I'm always thinking the subway.
Yeah, the subway's
Yeah,
the
we're
subway,
actually
train's
right
train.
here at Samsung Station on the Green Line. So if you
right.
guys come down here, we're next to Gangnam. You know, like Gangnam Style, if that hasn't gotten old yet.
Never.
Never. Oh, did you see that he actually did a song with Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, I didn't hear it yet, but I saw it on a muted television.
I enjoyed it.
Cool.
It's good. It's good. Here comes the Cybernetics Core
Yeah,
and the Stargate.
It's going to take a minute before we get the real action. This is like the map where oftentimes you don't see action for a very long time. And it looks like, you know, Stargate, that is the right opener, I would say, like generally speaking. You can open with other stuff to mix it up, but Stargate's going to be the strongest play.
Well, Stargate, I think, really allows Protoss to be rewarded for the air mobility on this map. You have Overlord spread out all over the map. You have a lot of expansion Zerg can take that Protoss might not be able to shut down unless they had a proxy pylon there at the right time in the right place, which, I mean, face it, any good Zerg player is going to stop a probe from getting out there and putting that proxy pylon. So Stargate's one of the best, if not the best, option to go for. And so he starts out here with an Oracle, and he can follow this up with a lot of different air combinations later on.
Yeah, like even on this map, you could go into Phoenixes if you scout that they don't have Zergling speed. I would say that that is doable. And in this case, of course, we see that he's getting kind of late gases. But, you know, generally you're going to follow it up with Void Rays, at least one, to help out against anything that tries to hit your third base. We'll see what he chooses.
The Void Ray next, so he'll use that to cover the third base that'll be taken in a second here.
Well, do have some spores already in the way, because he did scout it, of course. Forge coming up right now. Of course, you need to grab that before you take your third base, so you can get that cannon up behind the gateways in between pylons. Very set way of doing a build like this.
Yeah, it's been pretty mapped out by this point in time. So he navigates in between the Queens and the Spore Crawler. It doesn't look like he's going to do much damage at all. Let's see, he's got one kill. Can he get a second? But he doesn't want to lose that Oracle.
Yeah, the most important thing is keeping that Oracle alive. It is not worth like an extra drone or even two. Like if you can suicide and get like 8, sure, do it. But
well, by then it's paid for itself already by a lot. And so here he comes now. Gets that Nexus up there, and the 2 pylons, the gateway with the cannon in between that all will be set up there so he can secure his third. We could see the Zerg take a 4th here momentarily. We're going to have to see. He wants to try to slip a drone down there.
Yeah, I would say we should. And we only... Okay, there we go, 2 Evos. I was going to say, only 1 Evo. That would be really weird. But on this map, you're always going to go for 2 Evos as the Zerg. Evolution chambers. Sometimes they speak too much terms. Many terms.
We have the Roachwarren finishing up here. And really, it's up to Su. Does Su go like the style he had in game number 1, where he's really aggressive and tries to do some harass? Now, that wasn't effective in game number 1, and this is sizing up to look somewhat similar to game number 1 as far as Classic's position. Or does Su try to just vacuum up all the resources on his quadrant of the map? Does he double expand here?
I think you nailed it there. I think that's what he's going to be going for.
I think that's the better play.
Yeah.
Let's see what he does here, though, because I was a bit confused by Su being perhaps a little bit too aggressive, trying to counterattack a little bit. Not even counterattack, just harass a little bit too much at times. So let's see what he does. The Lings are backing up now, and the Spire has started.
Well, a Spire and an Infestation Pit.
Yeah,
now,
good point
the Spire, I believe, is just going to be for Corruptors if he needs them against a Colossus-based push. Because really, Colossus is the only thing you're going to be afraid of when you have ridiculous amounts of Zerglings this early in the game. Well, nice little harassment going on. But I expect him actually to rush up to high pretty quickly here. I've seen Su sometimes go right into Ultras on this map, and it's a good play to go Ling Ultra because you just kind of crush any ground armies and you force it into this super late game where you have so many bases.
He's going to drive out that Overseer as he makes the Gateway Explosion.
Well, that's actually Stargates.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stargate Explosion.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually very interesting. Okay, so he's going to be doing a 3 Stargate play here.
Yeah, looks like heavy Void Rays with Colossus and just random ground units as backup. It's too bad that he actually made those right under that Overseer. If he had just waited a moment...
That's why I thought they were gateways at first.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's the obvious thing. I mean, making the gateways there is not a particularly big deal.
Exactly.
But, so he's making the Stargates. Didn't cancel them. So let's see what exactly the Zerg is going to respond with, because had the Zerg had even the slightest doubt in his mind as to what's happening, this should, from Protoss, have a lot more impact. But he seemed okay with him knowing. Now, when you go for Colossus Stargate play, it takes a long time to get maxed.
Yeah, it does. I think it's probably out of every composition in the game, it takes the longest to get maxed off.
And also important to note, out of probably all the army comps, I guess one that comes close is Terran Mech, is when you lose, if you lose this entire army, you are so far behind.
Yes, that is so true.
So far behind. Even more so with mech, because you're actually, if you're meching off 3 base, you're producing out of more structures than you are if you're producing out of, for instance, 1 Robo and 3 Stargates. So don't let that all get fungal. Don't let that get torn down. In the meanwhile, the only thing that Sue can do is race to acquire as many resources, upgrades, finish up his tech tree, everything like that.
Well, this is actually really interesting. We see a lot of Queens coming out, a lot of Infestors out. This is a great style that we're seeing from Sue. He's even getting that Hive for the Ultralisk tech. And
Classic's going to go for this Void Ray timing. What he wants to do is shoot down 1 hatch and then recall back. But the problem is which hatch is really the most accessible from here? I mean, frankly, none of them. He could try to go for the main, I guess. I don't think that would work. I don't know where else he could really go.
Well, it looks like he's going towards, the main, but with this many Infestors and Queens, this is not going to work out at all. He's going to have to just recall immediately.
Yeah, I mean, even just seeing this one work out here. Oh my god!
Okay, a good recall. No harm, no foul. That's a good play by him, and I really liked how Classic was on the map with the rest of his units, just kind of like trying to pull the army out of position, but Sue is ready for everything.
Well, you got to think, if he does get up there, let's say that he kills the layer and he kills the Spire. If all Protoss would have to do from there is go back and keep making that high-tier tech, the Void Rays, the Colossi, and by the time Zerg's managed to get back on his feet with the tech, Protoss will just have this impossible-to-stop force.
Yeah, it's actually really scary when they do hit the max with this force. In fact, as far as like straight maxes, this has, in fact, I'm going to have to explain about that. It's something that's only in my head I've never said before but it's like the strongest first max composition that there is, really, is Void Ray Colossus, which is part of the reason why it takes so long to actually get. Now,
oh my god, this is really nice. Now he does get a fungal off on those Void Rays. Now, will he recall here? He did stop both the gases from being mined from. That is a lot in a tech tree.
He needs to. He has to recall. That's like the chain fungals. If he hits like several more fungals, and
why is he not recalling Artosis?
He really wants to kill this base.
Does he not have the energy?
I think he's just trying to wait out all the fungals. I think he's saying, you don't have enough fungals to kill these, which means I can kill this base. And, well,
okay, he recalls out. Actually, a beautiful recall, by the way. Getting that Colossus as well. Now he sends a small army back home that way.
Void Rays are a little bit weaker now, though. They definitely took actual hull damage. It wasn't just shield damage. So I think most of them are in the yellow. So that can be an issue. Of course, they'll regain their shields and whatnot, but they will die a bit quicker to fungals, queens, corruptors, what have you.
The Lings go back up now. Was there something up there? I believe there's like a, not a probe, but like a zealot in the sentry or something. What's that at the very top?
Oh, it might have. Maybe it missed the recall. The recall radius sometimes.
I think that's what happened. There's something up there at the top center, and it's just now getting surrounded and killed off.
Whatever it is.
Okay, it was 2 zealots. That's what it was.
Okay.
So Protoss now expands again over here at the 4th. And the Templar Archives come in here. Protoss is going to try to finish up his tech tree as much as he can.
Yeah.
Classic's done a good job with keeping Zerg pretty busy down here.
He has.
In his neck of the woods.
He has. He needs to work on this composition, though, a little bit. I feel like Sue has done a really good job getting the type of army that he needs at the moment. But we definitely need that Templar Archives to finish up. Some Archons can be very helpful if your opponent goes Corruptor. And, of course, they can help out against those Ultras as well. But Psystorm and Feedback are probably the 2 most important things to help protect those Void Rays.
I like the angle he's coming up here from Artosis. This is actually really smart. Look at this at the center right. That's a pretty narrow area with a Colossus splash. Oh, well, hold on. He's going to lose his base, so this one's going to be Classic on 3 bases. The Zealot warping over here. Now watch down here at the bottom. He's going to come up. This is a nice little corner to attack into here. Nothing's defended. This hatchery goes down in seconds.
Yeah, that was a very nice snipe.
The problem is that Zerg's actually pressed onward.
Wow, well, he warps home. He's going to be able to save himself against this Ling harassment, although it looks like it did a decent amount of damage in there. But, you know, that was actually a little bit of a mistake, I guess, from Su sending his whole army into the main base. But the thing is, he couldn't save his main from the Zealots and save that expand, so kind of understandable as well.
I think he didn't expect those Zerglings to go all the way into his main for Club.
Yeah.
Exactly like Classic actually had to go back further than he wanted to. He's like, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a weird situation. You don't see that much.
And this is probably one of the best responses here for Classic. Expand towards the player. This way he can keep poking forward and attacking. And even if well, let's say he doesn't even have to recall in some cases. He can walk back. But if he has to recall, he's not losing as much momentum in his aggression.
Well, right now, taking a look at Su, he has 31 larvae. That's something I always like to check late game here and line it up with those minerals and gas.
Very smart.
When his army dies, he can definitely remax inexpensive units very quickly. But what units does he go to? You know, that's something that I think he can't even decide yet. He has to wait and see how a battle goes and what units he kills.
Oh my God, is he going to have to recall again? If he recalls, he should just have to recall a few Zealots. See, the problem, guys, is that he's maxed out, so he can't warp in anything over here.
Yeah.
Which makes, okay, he lose one Nexus now. Obviously, that base doesn't have minerals, but that's not
this is
Proto
so painful.
Boost. And gosh, if he could just get that other Nexus, that'd be huge. Forces, actually, that was not even canceled.
That is so painful to have to recall to deal with like 20 Lings.
You know, honestly, I feel like he should have only recalled a small chunk of that and then gone back to his other base.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that would have been fine.
That's the whole reason why you expand that close, right?
That makes sense.
Another attack up over here. Now, Su's play is getting a little bit scrappy here, just with the Ling harass, which I like. This is pretty cheap to control the movement patterns in Classic.
Yeah, and you know what? Classic, though, he's making some good moves now. Notice he's getting that Dark Shrine. That's actually really important at this phase of the game, because in a situation like that, if you just leave, like, maybe 8 supply from maxed, you can just warp in a couple DTs to stop harassments like those Ling harassments, and that's like, it's a very easy way to deal with it quite quickly and make it have diminishing returns for your opponent.
You know, I'm getting a little bit worried here for Classic because Su's bank is so unbelievably good. The truth, though, is all Su has to do is wipe out this Protoss army once. If he can wipe out this army, now, granted, that's a pretty hard army to destroy. You know, he can start to stamp out the additional Protoss bases, specifically this one that's over here. He could just make a bunch of Lings or Roaches or whatever and take that out. But for the time being, Protoss is just steadily growing, keeping firm control on the right side of the map.
His comp is getting much better, too, if you take a look.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, more Archons, for instance, more Void Rays, more Colossi.
Yeah, he's actually adding extra Immortals, which is kind of interesting when you have 16 Void Rays to actually add this many Immortals.
What is the deal with all the Archons? Oh, the Archons can't get out of the base.
Yeah, they can't get out of small wall and holes. They're so big. So, warps them out. That's, I guess you can just do it that way. It's a lot less aggravating, although it does use 100 energy in your Mothership Core. Which at this point, against an army like this, you're not really going to use Time Warps. You're going to use Recall.
He's, Su is getting Spire upgrades here.
Yeah, definitely something he's going to need for later on. Oh my god, here we go, Taste. This is a huge engagement. Those Ultras getting some good surface area, but that is way too many Void Rays.
Yeah, the Void Rays cleaning up everything. Only the Queens remaining. Now here's the anti-air. The Ultras continue to get gunned down, but it looks like actually the Ultras just barely cleaning up the remainder of that ground army, even that one Immortal.
That's right.
It's the last kill there. Wow, Su, I got to say, I'm very impressed. Now, this goes back to, and the crowd goes wild. And this goes back to what I was talking about. If he gets that army down to a small enough size, look at the supplies here, 98 to 200.
Yes.
Su is just going to...
He's going to finish up now.
He's going to finish up the rest of his army, and then he'll just attack that 4th base for the Protoss, the one that's closest by, and Su will win.
Yeah, he's definitely got this game now. You can't beat twice the supply. It just doesn't happen. And with this many Ultras on the way, he still has all his Queens, he still has Infestors. You know, Classic was a little bit off in his composition. He definitely needed some Sentries, I mean not Sentries, I'm sorry, High Templars with feedback and Psystorm. And also, as I was saying, like, you can't you can't ever go on a creep against this type of composition with so many ultras and queens and infestors and lings. You just cannot beat it on creep, which is why you need to go sky toss late game on this map. You can't stay like half and half. Half and half is great for the early and early late game, but for the supreme late game when you're going for kills, you're going to need Tempest in there. You're going to need. You have to play it long. You have to. It's a hard game.
I gotta say, Tempest in that part of the game would have been nice, considering the proximity. Could have done a lot with that.
Yeah. Well, it's an army that ultras aren't going to kill on creep, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this is
Classic's going to have to attempt to sandwich this. The problem is that even if Sue loses this entire army, he could just remake it. I mean, he has so much money.
Yeah, this Sue's bank is ridiculous. We don't even have a max here from our Protoss player. Classic is going to go down.
And that is going to be bringing us into game number 3 here. GG! As we're now 1-1 in our second GSL CODES Finals of the year.
Yeah. Now, both those games, I think, don't dictate how this series is going to go because Ultrazine is the only map that will ever look like that type of game, and all that showed us,
and openness.
Yeah, all that showed us is that Classic is not Zest caliber in late game PvZ, like in the Supreme late game on a Ultrazine. I was going to say
Tal'Darim.
No, but that's all he really showed us there. That game doesn't necessarily mean Sue is better. It means Sue is better specifically on Ultrazine. And that's like, that map is one of a kind.
Well, what exactly is Classic going to do to keep winning games here? I agree with you 100%, Artosis. It did not look like Zest. There was something so infallible. Zest was like the pope of Protoss.
Zest doesn't walk on a creep against Mass Ultra.
But but when you see Classic, you see there's a lot of intelligence in his strategy, but the execution's not quite there.
Yeah, it was a little bit off. He's not like here. He's in the GSL finals. That's great. He's not trying to take best Protoss in the world. He is not the best.
It's also weird because they're teammates. So then you have these mind games where the players they know each other so well. Think about it. When CODES starts, of course, both players are saying, well, I think I'm going to be doing this against Zerg. I'm going to do this against Protoss. If I ever see a Terran, I'll do this. They get a very good idea of how their teammates view the game. You know, after we cut out the fat at the round of 16 and then do it again in the round of 8 and get farther and farther along, two roommates are now facing off against each other here in the finals, which makes selecting strategies really hard because these guys have played more against each other already, historically, than they have against basically anybody else. So a lot of times when we have teammate versus teammate games, things look a little bit weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're on the same team like this, you even tell each other things like, oh, this is how you beat Zerg on that map, or this is what Protoss is weak
can't
to.
stop Zerg if they do this.
Yeah, something like that.
If you're Zerg on this map, all you have to do is do this as Protoss, and you win in the late game, stuff like that. So we've had some bumpy games. I wonder how often, for instance, in game number 1, how often did Classic actually ever try that proxy Stargate strat?
Don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he does that
really
very
ever.
often. Like, I watch basically all of Classic's games. I think he's one of the best Protosses in the world for sure, but I don't remember seeing that before. But that's the type of thing that you're going to see in a team kill.
So going on into game number 3 here, these guys seem evenly matched. Weird decisions made from here and there, but you can see they're trying to outmaneuver each other. They're trying to outthink each other. Do you feel like anybody, either of these two has a stronger chance of moving on?
Sue. I mean, Sue is, I think he's just a better player, more well-rounded player, more fleshed-out player than Classic.
Here is a shot of Guanam Bridge
in Busan.
And I believe there is a barcraft going on over there.
Sick.
네, 에너지 업, 파워 업. 네, GSL을 사랑하시는 팬 여러분 안녕하십니까? 오늘 핫식스걸 최은선입니다. 네, 저는 부산에 위치한 스포츠펍 태벤 타파스에서 GSL을 사랑하시는 부산 팬 여러분들과 함께 결승 경기 재밌게 지켜보고 있는데요. 네, 보셨다시피 창 밖으로 광안리도 보이고요. 네, 시원한 클라우드 맥주도 함께하고 있고요. 오늘 마치 이른 여름 휴가를 온 기분이 들
Artosis,
정도입니다.
that is a barcraft.
네,
Yes.
아시다시피
Yes, indeed.
See that beer over there, man? Let's party.
I was just in Busan a few days ago.
Busan is an amazing place. By the way, guys, cheers to all you who are at barcrafts right now around the world.
Yeah, I'm sure
If you're
that
watching right now from a barcraft, or if you're just having a drink at home, now's time for a shot.
That's right.
A double shot.
And if you haven't started yet, do it.
Yeah, I don't
And it
care
might
what
be,
time it
if
is. It
you're
might
in
be
Europe, it's morning.
Yeah, it's time to
like-
start drinking in the morning, guys.
It's like 10 a.m. in Europe
Yep.
right now.
Pour some beer on those Cheerios and get your day started.
my God.
Ugh.
You.
So,
But yeah, Busan is a lot of fun. You and I have been down there quite a few times.
I think I've been down there like 5 times or something now.
I've gone down there, I think, probably nearing 10 times at this point. Like I don't know. I'd like to take a little vacation down there each year because it's like really nice. I went and played in the sand at the beach. Actually, it was at Hyundai this time, not Gwanghwamun, which is where they are right now. But it's a very great place, and make sure you check out this bar if you ever go down there.
Also, guys, feel free to tweet at GOM if there's other bar crafts going on. Let us know. We love hearing from you guys. We love seeing.
We're talking to you, Aussies. We know we're in
Yeah,
your
we're
time
talking
zone.
about. We know there's a lot of. For our show, there's definitely a lot of Australian bar crafts or New Zealand bar crafts.
A little bit early there, though.
We went to. That was, I think, our first bar craft that we went to was when we were in Australia.
Yeah, I think it was.
And
Because
that
we're
was-
always at the events instead of bar
Yeah,
crafts.
we never get to actually see a bar craft there. And then we went to that, and we had a bunch of drinks in, and then
was great.
attempted to cast shortly
the rest
after
of the show.
that. Yeah.
Really fun.
Now, so, and if you guys have been watching for a long time, I mean, this is, I think, one of the next big things in social gaming is events, you know, public events, hosting esports stuff with drinks. You know, growing up, Artosa, you can agree, there was always this idea around gaming that it was for little kids,
Yeah.
and only for little kids. But obviously, as this generation's grown up and the generation before us,
I'd rather be a little kid than an old dude.
yeah, well, even if I'm an old dude, I'm basically going to be a little kid. But what's important is that you actually, there are these functions going on all over the world where gamers can get together, grab drinks, meet each other, share their passions and interests, and get wasted.
All great and amazing
All great and
things.
amazing things. So cheers to the Busan Barcraft. Now back into this game here, game number 3.
That's right. We'll see. I can't remember which map this was. Well, I guess we'll just see in a moment. I was only focusing on those first two. But yeah, you got to lean towards Sue here, I would say.
I agree. Also,
I don't think there's anyone out there arguing that Classic is just a better player than Sue.
bet you there's someone on the channel right now saying that.
I don't think so. If they did, there's a Kappa face after it. So,
Nice.
all right, Frost.
Yep. This is going to be a great game for these two. It's
This
a map
one's-
that's been around for a long time, and we've seen a lot of games from both these players, which means if it's been around this long, these players know each other so well on these maps. So expect anything from me.
This is the telling map right here. Frost is the map that Protosses choose a lot of the time, just because it's kind of standard and normal and you feel safe on it. If Sue crushes Classic here, then I don't hold out much more hope for Classic in this series.
We'll have to see. The game is just now loaded up. Classic against Sue. 2 players come in. Only one will move on. Become the champion of the GSL Codex.